Okay, so the first table topic is going to be Charles, the first speaker for table topics. So, Charles, the topic is what is your favorite blank? So, pick a number from 1 to 8, please.
I'll pick number 8.
Okay, number 8 is what is your favorite store? And it could be a brick and mortar store or an online store. What is your favorite store?
This store is a typical, well, not a typical big box store, but it's in the warehouse variety. And I go there probably too often. I am a single person living by myself. And I guess a lot of people will be surprised that one of my favorite stores is Costco. The reason why that is when you go in there, I actually see friendly faces. I usually go in there on like a Saturday afternoon, and it's generally the same people. So you get the friendly faces, it's very similar, and you go around. It's just kind of like one minute you like to see what they have new there. They always mixing new products. If you need something to eat for, like, hey, I want to get a meal for the next couple of days, you can get a $5 chicken, $5 or $6 chicken, and that's all. Then you can just mix it up with some rice for the next day, put some vegetables the next day. If you want to get some frozen foods, I can just get some of those, and then I'll get like some like vegetables and that kind of stuff, and just kind of get that for the month and just eat off of those. And it just always just I don't know why. It just like it seems like a nice place that I always used to go to. Friendly people. I can stack up of things and just store them, and I save money. So if anybody wants to go to Costco on a Saturday, feel free to join on. I have a car. All right, thank you.
Okay, Charles, thank you for speaking. That's interesting. Um, the next speaker is going to be Albert, and we have numbers 1 through 7.
Oh, why don't we go with number 7, Bill?
Number 7, what is your favorite sport as a spectator or a participant?
In terms of my favorite sport as a spectator, it's kind of funny that it's baseball because when I was growing up, I didn't really like baseball that much. Played a lot of soccer growing up, but as I've gotten older and more sedentary, baseball has become really interesting to me. And the reason why is because there's a lot of math involved in baseball. And I didn't really realize this until I read some books by David Halberstam around the Yankees. And it was around the time that I lived in New York. And so I became, as a result of those books, I became fans of the Yankees. And this is when the Yankees started in the 1990s, starting to become good again with Derek Jeter and the core four. Um, and so there's just a lot of math. There's a lot of strategy around it, especially during the playoffs. And I've become fascinated with it. I guess during the regular season, it may not be as important. Every pitch may not be as important. But when you get to the playoffs, especially in the World Series, every pitch matters. And so whether it's 2 balls and a strike or 1 strike and 2 balls, it really changes the way the pitchers approach the hitters. And then if you're actually at the stadium, you can actually see how the defense is lining up versus each of the hitters. And again, I think I'm more of a baseball nerd now. And so those things really fascinate me. And so that's why I really enjoy watching baseball. Thank you.
Thanks, Albert. That's an interesting take on the sport of baseball. Okay, the next speaker is going to be Corey, and we have numbers 1 through 6 available.
Let's do number 6, Phil.
Number 6, what is your favorite television game show?
My favorite television game show. This one is a difficult question to answer because I have a current one, but there's one that holds a very special place in my heart. Starting off with the one when I was a kid, um, it was The Price is Right. And I say when I was younger because when I would wake up on the summer, I had very, very fond memories of sleeping in. Me and my brother both kind of wake up at the same time. We go out, eat some Eggo waffles. And my mom was a teacher, so she'd always be home in the summer with us. And right at 10:30, The Price is Right would come on. We'd watch it. I'm a little young, so I would have the Drew Carey Price is Right. Bob Barker was a little bit before my time. But that show holds a very special place in my heart. But I would say my favorite game show now is actually Family Feud, just because when I'm back home, I don't have cable currently at my apartment. But when I'm back home, my parents have cable and they love cable. And Family Feud is something that we call it old reliable, because when there's nothing on, you can always kind of plan on Family Feud being on the game show network. So that's always an easy one to turn on. It's kind of mindless, just fun to watch. So those are two of my favorite game shows. Back to you, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah, Corey, I'll say something since you talked about The Price is Right. I watched that a lot as a kid, and I have fond memories of seeing Cliffhanger for the first time, watching with my grandfather. And in recent years, there were some guys that put on simulated game shows at trivia conventions, and I lived out my lifelong fantasy of playing Cliffhanger.
Oh, that's awesome. There you go. Sounds fun.
Sure. Okay, well, thank you for your insight into your favorite game shows. Let's see, let's go to the chat here. The next speaker is Barbara. And we have numbers 1 through 5 available.
Table topics master, I'll take number 3.
Number 3. Barbara, what is your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot is usually the last place that I visited. And last February, a year ago, I visited Costa Rica. And it was everything I hoped it would be. We saw the volcanoes. We stayed in a city that in a hotel across the street from a volcano, but it didn't erupt that weekend. We went to a river, to rainforest, and every day it would just start raining without just any time of the day. It'd stop, and then it would start. It was a heavy rain, but it was light, and of course the temperature is very warm. A third, we went up to the Cloud Mountain, which is several thousand feet, 10 or 12,000, where we could see the clouds and look out over the forests and the river, and we were right in the same height as at the Howler Monkeys. So I thought that was special. Fourth, we went to a plantation of a pineapple plantation, met the owners, and they gave us, they chopped up a pineapple with a machete for us to eat, and then followed it with pina colada. That was my favorite vacation for now. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thanks, Barbara. That was an interesting take on Costa Rica. Okay, the next speaker is David, and we have numbers 1, 2, 4, and 5 available.
I'll go with 5.
Number 5. What is your favorite sitcom?
Ooh, my favorite sitcom. That's a hard question for me because I don't watch too much TV shows. And but when I do watch, I do find myself a bit drawn to more like comedy types of TV shows sometimes. And I'll probably say I liked the TV show Friends. That was a show, I think it got popular like in the 90s. And my older sister, she kind of got me into like started like watching that show. And so she kind of introduced me to it, and it just seemed like a fun, yeah, fun concept of like friends living together, being roommates together. I think that and just having a really good time in their whatever it was, 20s and 30s. And I think maybe one reason that it kind of, and in like a big city like New York, and I think one reason that kind of resonated with me is because I sometimes reminisce on my, you know, like 20s, 30s. I'm a little older now, but like, in my early 20s or 30s and living in a city and just having kind of that freedom, which I still do now, but like, but I'm married now, but like, having some freedom to, you know, explore the city and to hang out with your friends. Okay, who am I kidding? I still have that freedom, but like, yeah, I do kind of really appreciate that that kind of lifestyle and making new friends because I just came here to Chicago like a year ago and I've been trying to like make new friends. So I think that TV show just and it's also very funny to me. And also I have a friend of mine from college. I remember him telling me like he was from like India, but like he really loved the show, and so it seemed to have kind of like a global. I thought it was really interesting to have that kind of like global impact as well. So I would say Friends.
Okay, thanks, David. That's an interesting take on the show Friends. Okay, the next speaker is Derek, and we've got numbers 1, 2, and 4 left.
I'll go with number 4.
Number 4, what is your favorite movie?
So of recent, the one movie that I recently saw was that I really enjoyed, and I think it's probably one of the best sci-fi movies I've ever seen, was Dune Part 2. It's a really long movie, but I think just the atmosphere that the director was able to create in this movie, the color grading, the dialogue, the shots of the desert, those are all just completely mind-blowing to me. I wish I saw it in like an IMAX theater or something like that, but I ended up seeing it in a regular theater, but it was still completely mind-blowing. And the story itself was really interesting. The way like I only read about half of the book of Dune, but um I've heard from my friends that he did a really good job in terms of kind of creating a movie that was really good based off of the book. Because usually a lot of directors don't create movies based off of books that well. And this one did a really good job. The action was amazing. That there's this like all the war scenes inside of the movie were absolutely crazy. I really enjoyed that. Special effects are on point. Dialogue was really good. So overall, just a really good movie. I want to see it again, even though it's like 3 hours long or something like that.
Thank you for your comments. That's an interesting take on the movie Dune. Okay. Let's see, then we'll go in the chat here. The next speaker is Edward. You have one or two.
One.
Okay. Edward, what is your favorite song or musical act?
Ooh, that's a tough one because every year I have a different song as the song I like the most. So I think this year my favorite song is Unavailable by an Afrobeat artist called Davido. The reason I like this song most because it kind of resonates with my cultural background. It's an easy song to dance to, and it kind of creates like a very good like feeling or atmosphere anytime I'm listening to the song. This is a song I listen to like at least 30 minutes a day. And I always play this like when I'm studying or when I'm with friends or any party I'm at, I just request that they play this song because it's one of my favorite songs I can dance to. And this is a song I think I'll continue to listen to throughout the year. Thank you, Phil.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the title of the song.
Unavailable.
Unavailable?
Yes, by Davido.
Who's the group name?
Davido.
David.
I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. All right, so Edward was the last one to volunteer. I've got one more question if anybody else wants to do it who hasn't spoken yet. Okay, Andy's up, and there's only one question left. So your question is, what is your favorite local restaurant?
That's a great question. So I have the privilege, and I'm very happy that I get to live in the West Loop, and the West Loop has tons of really good restaurants. I think my favorite local restaurant that I really will go back to pretty often is there's a place here called Cabra, and the cool thing about Cabra is it is a Peruvian fusion restaurant, but it's on the rooftop of a hotel in the West Loop, and they do tapas style food. And you know, even if you don't fully enjoy the food, the view is great and it's really fun to go. And they always have lively music and a good atmosphere. And anytime I have people visiting town, I'll always try to take them there. And it's just a great vibe and great food, good cocktails as well. If you have not been, I would highly recommend it.
Okay, thanks, Andy. That's an interesting take on Cabra. So that concludes table topics. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.